You exist in a universe that watches you. Not in the paranoid sense, not as surveillance or judgment, but as a fundamental principle of reality itself. The act of observation does not simply record what is already there. Observation shapes reality. It collapses infinite possibilities into singular manifestations. This is not mystical speculation. This is what physics discovered at the quantum level, and what mystics have always known about consciousness. When you observe something, you determine its nature. When you do not observe, infinite potentials remain suspended in superposition, waiting for conscious attention to select one. You are never neutral in this process. You cannot be a passive observer because the very act of observing transforms what is being observed. Your attention is creative. Your awareness is generative. And right now, in this exact moment, you are being observed by a reality that responds to your observation of it. There is a reciprocal relationship happening constantly between your consciousness and the field of existence surrounding you. You are observing the world. The world is observing you. Reality mirrors consciousness, and consciousness shapes reality through the act of observation and choice. Think about how this works in your daily experience. When you expect someone to be hostile, they come across as hostile. Not because they are hostile in isolation, but because your expectation shapes how you receive their behavior and how they unconsciously adjust their behavior around your field of expectation. When you observe a situation as dangerous, your body tenses, your perception narrows, and you actually make worse decisions that can lead to the danger manifesting. When you observe a situation as full of opportunity, your body relaxes, your perception expands, and you naturally make better decisions that align with opportunity. This is not magic. This is the way consciousness interacts with reality. Your observation is not passive. Your observation is participatory. Your observation is generative. The very act of looking at something changes it. And when you understand this, when you really comprehend that you are never separate from what you are observing, you begin to understand the immense creative power that you hold simply by virtue of being conscious. November arrives as a threshold. Not because the calendar changed, not because some arbitrary convention decided that this month matters differently than others. November arrives as a threshold because consciousness itself recognizes the threshold. When collective attention shifts toward endings and beginnings, when seasonal shifts in the physical world correspond to energetic shifts in human experience, when the veil between what was and what will be grows thin, reality becomes more responsive. This responsiveness is not metaphorical, it is observable. People consistently report that what they focus on intensifies during these transition periods. Problems seem more pronounced when attention is drawn to them in November. Opportunities seem more abundant when expectation is raised. Synchronicities multiply. Coincidences become too perfect to dismiss. The universe becomes conversational in a way that it seems not to be during other times of the year. This is because observation itself strengthens during November. People naturally turn inward. The days grow shorter. The external world becomes less demanding, and in that quieter space, consciousness becomes more acute. Your observation becomes more refined, and reality responds with greater intensity to the choices you make and the focus you place. The old year is dying. The new year is being born. November is the corridor between these two states of being. It is the liminal space where transformation becomes possible, because the old certainties have not yet hardened, and the new possibilities have not yet crystallized. This is when you have maximum creative power. This is when your choices matter most. This is when your observation of yourself and your desires literally remakes what is possible. The reason November operates this way is simple. When the collective consciousness recognizes that something is ending and something is beginning, when millions of people simultaneously become aware that choice points are arriving, when the external world demonstrates through nature that transformation is happening, the entire fabric of reality becomes primed for individual transformation. It becomes more malleable. It becomes more responsive to internal conviction. The thoughts you think in November carry more weight than thoughts in July. The decisions you make in November ripple further than decisions made in April. The observations you make about yourself in November have more power to reshape reality than observations made in other months. This is not because November is inherently magical. It is because November is when humans collectively agree that observation and choice matter. And when humans collectively agree on something, reality reflects that agreement with precision. The shared expectation becomes the operating principle. The collective consciousness becomes the law that governs individual manifestation. So if you are going to choose yourself, if you are going to make a new observation about who you are and what you deserve, if you are going to declare a transformation into being, November is the month to do it. The support from collective consciousness is already there. The permission from reality is already granted. The amplification from the field is already activated. What does it mean to be observed? It means that reality itself watches what you declare yourself to be. The universe observes your internal declarations more carefully than you observe them yourself. When you say "I am," when you internally recognize yourself as something specific, the entire field of existence takes note. It reorganizes itself to reflect that observation. This is not random. This is not wishful thinking. This is the fundamental mechanism through which manifestation occurs. The observation precedes the manifestation. Your inner observation of your own identity comes first. Reality's reorganization to match that observation comes second. But most people reverse this sequence. They believe that external observation determines internal identity. They look at their bank account and think, therefore, I am poor. They look at their relationships and think, therefore, I am lonely, or I am worthy, or I am unlovable. They observe the external world first, and then they allow that observation to determine who they are. This is exactly backwards. This is the mechanism that keeps people trapped in recurring patterns year after year after year. The only observation that matters is the one you make about yourself. The only internal declaration that shapes your reality is the one you make first, before the world confirms it. When you observe yourself as wealthy, before the bank account matches, reality must reorganize to make that observation true. When you observe yourself as healthy before the body completely reflects it, cellular processes begin to shift in that direction. When you observe yourself as loved before external relationships confirm it, the entire network of connections around you begins to reorganize to validate your observation. Consider how this operates at the level of your own consciousness. You have probably had moments when you made a decision about yourself, and then suddenly the world began to confirm that decision. You decided you were capable of something, and opportunities appeared. You recognized yourself as worthy, and people began treating you with more respect. You observed yourself as someone who was changing, and circumstances began to align with that change. These were not coincidences. These were the natural result of the mechanism of observation. Once you observed yourself differently, reality had no choice but to follow. This is how powerful your internal observation is. This is why what you observe about yourself in this moment is so significant. You are literally voting for the reality you will experience. You are casting a ballot in the election of manifestation. You are determining which branch of infinite possibility will become your actual experience. And reality is waiting. Reality is responsive. Reality is trying to give you exactly what you observe yourself as deserving and capable of receiving. The universe does not judge your observations. It does not argue with them. It simply manifests what you have declared. This is the secret that transforms November from just another month into a month of quantum transformation. The quantum world operates on the principle that possibility remains suspended until it is observed. Then observation collapses all those infinite possibilities into one concrete manifestation. You are quantum. Your consciousness is quantum. Your choices are quantum. And in November, the natural thinning of the boundary between states makes this quantum nature visible. You stand at the threshold between one year and the next. Infinite possibilities stretch before you. The year that has passed is only one branch of all the branches that could have been. The year that is coming is only one branch of all the branches that could be. Right now, your observation, your choice, your internal recognition of what you want to be and what you want to have is determining which branch becomes real. You are not discovering what will happen. You are creating it. Through the simple act of observing yourself as already transformed, already in possession of what you desire, already being what you choose, you collapse the infinite potential into that singular manifestation. This is not imagination being separate from reality. Imagination is the mechanism of reality. Imagination is how reality comes into being. What you imagine first with conviction becomes what is. What you observe about yourself with certainty precedes what appears in the physical world. The quantum leap is not gradual. Evolution is gradual. Improvement is gradual. But transformation is quantum. When an electron jumps energy levels, it does not gradually move through the space between levels. It vanishes from one place and appears at another. It does not move through intermediate space. There is no path from the old location to the new one. It simply manifests at the new location. Your consciousness can do the same. You can leap from one state of being to another without having to move gradually through intermediate steps. From poverty to abundance. From sick to healthy. From isolated to connected. From doubting to confident. From ordinary to extraordinary. This leap happens through observation. You observe yourself as already in the new state. You feel what it is like to already be what you want to become. You recognize yourself as already possessing what you want to have. And in that moment, the quantum leap begins. Your consciousness does not gradually shift. It jumps. It appears at a new location in the space of possibility. The physical manifestation then follows. The world reorganizes to match where you have already moved in consciousness. This is why patience is required. Not patience in the sense of waiting for the universe to act, but patience in the sense of remaining in the new state while the physical evidence slowly catches up to your internal shift. Most people change internally for a moment, and then check the external world to see if anything has changed. When nothing has changed yet, they abandon the new state and return to the old one. But this is like taking a quantum leap and then immediately jumping back. The transformation cannot complete if you keep returning to the old location. Being chosen is not external. No one chooses you into existence. No one chooses you into transformation. You choose yourself. You choose which possibilities collapse into manifestation by observing yourself within them. The universe does not choose for you. It responds to your choice. When you observe yourself as chosen, when you internally recognize that you belong to a higher order of existence. When you see yourself as selected by destiny or design or the very structure of reality itself to become something specific, you are making a choice. You are choosing yourself. You are collapsing the infinite possibilities into the one that matches your self-observation. This is what it means to be observed. You are observed by a reality that responds to what you observe about yourself. You are chosen by a universe that manifests what you choose to recognize yourself as. The power is entirely within your internal observation and declaration. When you stop waiting for external permission or external confirmation before you recognize yourself as something. When you stop demanding that the world show you proof before you will observe yourself as transformed, you immediately activate the manifestation process. The external world appears to move slowly. It appears to require time to reorganize. But this appearance is only from the limited perspective of linear experience. From the perspective of consciousness, from the perspective of the quantum realm, the transformation is instant. The moment you observe yourself differently, the moment you choose a new identity through internal recognition, the universe begins the process of making it manifest in physical reality. Wanting is not weakness. Wanting is not attachment. Wanting is not suffering. Wanting, in its purest form, is the creative force of the universe expressing itself through you. When you want something, you are not separate from the universe. You are the universe recognizing something that it wants to experience. Your desire is cosmic desire, expressing itself through individual consciousness. When you suppress your wants or feel guilty about them, you are suppressing the creative impulse of reality itself. When you deny your desires, you are denying what the universe wants to create through you. The problem does not arise from wanting. The problem arises from the split between what you want and what you believe about your ability to have what you want. You want abundance, but believe you are not worthy. You want love, but believe you are unlovable. You want transformation, but believe you are incapable of changing. The split between your wanting and your believing creates internal conflict. This conflict is then reflected into the physical world as barriers, obstacles, delays. The wanting remains. But the wanting is trapped behind the belief. The desire cannot manifest while contradicted by competing internal beliefs. During November, when the veil is thin and observation becomes acute, this split becomes visible. You can see clearly where you want something, but simultaneously believe you cannot have it. This clarity is a gift. This is your opportunity to heal the split. You do this not by trying harder to believe or by forcing positive thoughts. You do this by observing yourself, as already having integrated the wanting and the believing. You observe yourself as someone who wants something and believes it is already on its way. You observe yourself as someone who desires transformation and recognizes that you are the vehicle through which the universe transforms itself. When you collapse this internal split, when you unify your wanting with your believing, when you stop being at war with yourself, the external world has no choice but to reorganize to match the unified state of your consciousness. Your wanting is not selfish. Your wanting is not greedy. Your wanting is alignment with the universe's desire to express itself through you. Every want you have ever felt reveals something about the potential that exists within you. If you want to be healthy, health exists as a potential in your consciousness. If you want to create something, creation exists as a capacity in your being. If you want to experience love, the ability to be loved exists within your essential nature. Your wanting is not creating the potential. Your wanting is recognizing potential that is already present. It is like the universe tapping you on the shoulder and saying, This is what I want to become through you. This is what exists waiting to be manifest through your choices and your observation. When you align your wanting with your observation of yourself, when you want something and simultaneously recognize yourself as someone capable of having and being exactly that, the creation becomes inevitable. But if you want something and simultaneously observe yourself as incapable of having it, you create the internal conflict that prevents manifestation. The universe cannot give you what you refuse to accept. The universe cannot transform you into what you refuse to recognize yourself as. This is not the universe being cruel or withholding. This is the universe respecting your self-observation. This is reality honoring your internal declaration about who you are. So the work is simple. Stop wanting something while simultaneously refusing to recognize yourself as capable of having it. Stop desiring transformation while observing yourself as incapable of changing. Stop asking the universe for something while internally declaring that you are unworthy. The split kills the manifestation. The unification creates the manifestation. The act of wanting reveals something profound about the nature of reality. When you want something that seems absent, you are already aware of its possibility. The awareness precedes the manifestation. You could not want something unless some part of you already knows that it is possible. Your wanting is proof that the thing exists. Your desire is evidence that the possibility is real. The universe does not waste consciousness on impossibilities. It does not generate desire for things that cannot be manifest. When you feel a genuine longing for something, that longing is the universe's way of telling you that this thing is already real in the realm of possibility. Your wanting is not a sign of lack. Your wanting is a sign of recognition. It is the universe within you recognizing something that the universe outside you is ready to create. This is why the instruction to assume the feeling of already possessing what you desire is not about pretending or denial. It is about recognizing that the desire itself is proof of the reality. The desire is the evidence that it already exists somewhere, in some realm, waiting to be manifest through your observation and choice. Consider how this shifts your relationship to desire. You have probably been taught that desire equals suffering, that wanting something you do not have creates pain, that the gap between what you want and what you have is where suffering lives. But this is a fundamental misunderstanding of how reality works. The gap does not create suffering. The resistance to the gap creates suffering. The desire in itself is not suffering. Resistance to the desire is suffering. When you embrace your wanting, when you say yes to what you desire, when you allow yourself to feel the longing without judgment or resistance, something shifts. The desire becomes a compass pointing toward your truth. The longing becomes a guide directing you toward the possibilities that are ready to manifest through you. In November. When observation intensifies, it becomes easier to notice what you truly want versus what you think you are supposed to want. It becomes clearer what desires are coming from your authentic self and what desires are coming from external conditioning. This clarity is invaluable because once you know what you truly want, once you can feel the authentic longing without resistance or judgment, you can align your observation of yourself with the manifestation of that desire. You can recognize yourself as someone who is already becoming what you want to become. And in that recognition, the universe responds. November becomes a quantum transformation month because the collective human consciousness recognizes it as such. When millions of people simultaneously recognize that endings are coming and beginnings are arriving, when the natural world demonstrates this transition through the dying of leaves and the shortening of days, when the calendar itself marks this as a threshold month, the reality field responds. It becomes more malleable. It becomes more responsive to observation. Your choices become more consequential. Your internal declarations become more creative. This is not magic. This is simply how reality works when observation is concentrated, when attention is unified, when the collective consciousness is primed to recognize transformation as possible. During other months, people move through routines. They exist in habit. Their observations of themselves repeat the same patterns that have always existed. The world confirms these patterns because no one is really observing with enough intensity to demand something different. But November interrupts these patterns. November calls for observation. November whispers that something is changing, whether you acknowledge it or not. And when millions of people feel this simultaneously, when collective consciousness turns toward this possibility, the field of reality becomes supremely responsive to the choices and observations of individual consciousness. What are you being observed as right now? Not what others see, not what mirrors show. What does the universe recognize you as based on your internal observation of yourself? This is the only observation that matters. This is the only observation that creates manifestation. The universe does not lie. It does not judge. It simply reflects back what you have declared yourself to be through your persistent internal observation. If you have observed yourself as limited for years, the universe has made your limitation manifest with precision. If you have observed yourself as unlovable, every relationship has reflected that observation back to you. If you have observed yourself as sick or unsuccessful or unworthy, the universe has dutifully created the external evidence to match your internal observation. This is not punishment. This is not judgment. This is simply how reality works. It is a mirror that only reflects what you place in front of it. In November, the opportunity arrives to change what you are being observed as. You can change this now. Not gradually, not eventually. Now. You can choose a new internal observation. You can declare yourself to be something different. You can recognize yourself as already transformed, and in that moment of choosing, in that instant of new observation, the universe immediately begins reorganizing itself to make that observation true. The physical world will take time to catch up. The external evidence will require time to reorganize. But the shift happens immediately at the level where all change actually originates, at the level of consciousness, awareness itself. How do you become chosen? You choose yourself first. You must internally observe yourself as the kind of person who is chosen, not chosen by others, chosen by the universe itself, chosen by the mechanism of reality, chosen to receive what you desire, chosen to become who you recognize yourself as, chosen to manifest exactly what you have been observing yourself as capable of becoming. This self-recognition is the first choice. Everything else flows from this internal declaration. When you observe yourself as chosen, you naturally begin to make different decisions. You naturally begin to take different actions. You naturally begin to notice different opportunities because you are now looking for evidence that confirms your new observation. This is not positive thinking, convincing yourself, something false. This is recognizing that you have always had the power to choose yourself into existence. The only question was whether you would use that power consciously or unconsciously. Now you know. You have the power. You have always had it. In November, when the veil thins and observation intensifies, this power becomes undeniable. You can feel it. You can sense that your choices in this moment are more significant than your choices in other months. This is your invitation to use this power consciously. The moment you recognize yourself as chosen, you stop looking for external permission. You stop waiting for someone else to validate you. You stop demanding that the world show you proof of your worthiness before you will claim your power. Instead, you become the source of your own validation. You recognize yourself as selected by reality itself to become what you are capable of becoming. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. This is recognizing that the universe does not withhold good things from people. The universe simply responds to what people observe themselves as deserving. When you observe yourself as chosen, you are declaring that you deserve the best. You are announcing that you are worthy of transformation. You are stating that you have been selected by the mechanism of real. It's itself to receive exactly what you desire. And once you make this declaration internally, the universe has no choice but to treat you as chosen. It must reorganize itself to validate your self-observation. People around you will begin to treat you as someone special, not because you have done anything externally different, but because you are now broadcasting from a different internal state. Opportunities will begin to appear, not because you have performed differently, but because you are now looking from the perspective of someone chosen. This is the power of self-selection. This is how you become chosen, by becoming the chooser of yourself. The quantum transformation means that you are not gradually changing from one state to another. You are not incrementally improving toward a goal. You are jumping quantum states. You are leaping from one-dimensional expression of reality to another. In the quantum realm, a particle does not travel gradually from one location to another. It quantum tunnels. It appears at a new location. It does not move through intermediate space. It simply manifests at a new place. You can do this with your consciousness. You can leap from one state of being to another, from poverty to abundance, from sickness to health, from loneliness to connection, from limitation to unlimited potential. This leap happens through observation and choice. When you observe yourself as already in the new state, when you recognize yourself as already transformed, when you choose the new identity completely, the quantum leap begins. Your consciousness appears at a new location in the landscape of possibility. The physical world then reorganizes to match this new location. This is why manifestation appears to take time. It is not the consciousness that is slow. Consciousness changes instantly. It is the physical world that takes time to catch up to where consciousness has already moved. This is why so many people give up before the manifestation appears. They change their consciousness. They feel the shift. They recognize they are already in the new state. But then they look at the physical evidence and see that nothing has changed yet. So they return to the old state. They abandon their observation. They revert to their old identity. And the physical world has nothing to reorganize toward, because they have already left the new state internally. But if you remain in the new observation, if you persist in recognizing yourself as already transformed, if you stay in the new quantum state internally while the physical world slowly shifts to match, the transformation becomes inevitable. In November, the windows of possibility open wider. The membrane between what was and what will be becomes thinner. Your observation creates more immediate effects. Your choice receives more immediate response. This is not speculation. This is observable. People consistently report that their manifestations happen faster in November and December than at other times of the year. They report that synchronicities multiply. They report that the universe seems more conversational. They report that it feels like reality is paying closer attention. This happens because consciousness collectively is paying closer attention. The individual observation becomes amplified by collective observation. The individual choice becomes validated by collective expectation. The individual transformation becomes supported by the collective recognition that transformation is possible. This is why you must be careful what you observe about yourself in November. If you observe limitation, you will receive amplified limitation. If you observe capability, you will receive amplified capability. If you observe yourself as chosen and transforming, you will receive accelerated transformation. The month magnifies whatever you choose to place your observation on. Observe now what you have been observing yourself as throughout the previous months and year. What has been your persistent internal declaration? What has been your consistent belief about who you are? Whatever that is what has been manifesting. If you have been observing yourself as someone who struggles, then struggle has been your consistent experience. If you have been observing yourself as capable and resourceful, then capability and resourcefulness have appeared. The external world has been reflecting your internal observation with absolute fidelity. This is not a coincidence. This is the only mechanism through which reality operates. Now in November, you have the opportunity to change what you observe about yourself. You have the opportunity to choose a new identity. You have the opportunity to collapse infinite possibilities into a new manifestation by observing yourself differently. This is the quantum transformation. This is what November offers. Not because November is magic, but because November is when collective consciousness recognizes that observation and choice matter most. When people are already paying attention to transformation, your personal transformation becomes supported by that collective attention. The universe wants you to have what you want. The universe wants you to be what you want to be. The universe is not withholding. It is not testing you. It is not waiting for you to prove yourself worthy. The universe is simply responsive to your observation. If you observe yourself as unworthy, the universe reflects unworthiness. If you observe yourself as worthy, the universe reflects worthiness. If you observe yourself as someone who deserves exactly what you desire, the universe arranges circumstances to give it to you. This is how the mechanism works. There is no other rule. There is no hidden qualification. You are chosen the moment you choose yourself. You are given exactly what you observe yourself as deserving and capable of receiving. The question then is not how to convince the universe, or how to manipulate reality, or how to force the world to give you what you want. The question is, what will you observe yourself as? What will you declare yourself to be? What identity will you choose to inhabit? Once you make this choice, once you lock in your new observation, the entire universe begins the work of making it manifest. Being observed means being recognized. It means being known. The universe knows you completely. It knows every internal declaration you have ever made about yourself. It knows every moment you chose limitation. It knows every moment you claimed less than your full power. It also knows every moment you dared to recognize yourself as more. Every moment you chose to observe yourself as capable. Every moment you dared to declare yourself as worthy. The universe holds all of this, and it manifests based on what you observe yourself as being right now. Not based on your past. Not based on what others say about you. Not based on what evidence appears to suggest, but based on what you, in this moment, choose to recognize yourself as. This is your creative power. This is the power that transforms November into a month of quantum transformation. This is the power that allows you to leap from one reality to another through simple internal recognition. Choose what you will be observed as. Choose what you will declare yourself to be. Choose the identity that matches what you want to experience. And then observe as the universe reorganizes itself to match your observation. All change begins by understanding your role as a co-creator. And the only way to connect with this divine intelligence is through meditation. We have developed a set of audio tools to help you access this higher state of consciousness. To learn more and gain immediate access, click the link on the screen or in the comments. If this video resonated with you, write in the comments. It made sense to me.